And we come today to say, welcome. Glad you're here for Ask the Theologian on this Wednesday. Delighted to have you. It is a snowy day here in Taos, New Mexico, and always delighted to have you. Let's see here what's going on out there. What was I going to check? Oh, I realize no. Yeah, I did. There. Almost. There you go. There is my backyard. I can't tell. I need to aim that up. That's barely snowing out there. That's the little retaining wall. Now, normally there would be a bird feeder there. And it is time for the bird feeders to go back up. Because once we have the snow, we got rid of the critters and the bears and all that, and we can put it up. So here on this snowy day, we are delighted that you have joined us. Do plan to do Mark tonight. However, with that, let me say, sometimes weather does affect broadcasts, so either today or tonight. If there's an issue, it's a weather-related issue. Our apologies in advance over that. Good to see each one of you today. Like Scott and Nathan and Rudy and Daryl and Jay. And Jay, we're praying for you today, Jay. Jay says he can use some prayers. We'll pray for Jay. And Robert and Tara and Toby and Pastor Tim. Do you go by Tim or Timothy? I don't know. I sometimes call you Pastor Tim, and then I thought, well, it might be Pastor Timothy, which is biblical. Timotheus. Means honor or honorable, I believe, in Greek. Jennifer up in Yakult, good to see you. Kelly in Pennsylvania, welcome. Alex back in London. He's been traveling the world. Alex, this morning I was actually thinking about you as I was leaving the, see if I can try that one more time. Leaving the snow-clad house. There's the live pic. Looks like it's gotten a little darker, a little more snow coming down. Not huge, but I put on the scarf you gave me last year, and as I was walking through the yard doing a couple of things, I thought, this is so nice to have this, and I thought of Alex. We got Trent up in Green Bay today, ladies and gentlemen. Trent and Madison have gone to Green Bay. Nancy, Pueblo West, Colorado, good to see you. John in West Virginia, welcome. Glad you're here. And several of you note buffering on YouTube. I'll have Nathan just double check. We'll see what we're doing there. But looks like Worshipify going fine there. Davey, welcome to see you. Good to see you. Right Divide Mystery Woman, glad you're here. And welcome to everyone. Delighted that you have joined us today. Hey, I have a copy of the book. It is the clattering, clanging, I'll get it right, I wrote the book. Clattering, clanging Christmas. There you go. The clattering, clanging, it's got pictures. It's, I suppose it's probably best for like kids. I wrote it for my grandkids, and they are preschool age. I've got one 7-year-old. Seven's probably as high as you want to go. And I don't know, maybe 8, 10, 15, 75. And I wrote it to help kids not only have a fun story, but to help kids fall in love with the sound of language. I think language is this absolutely unbelievable, amazing thing. And I think there has not been enough emphasis from the classical days, enough emphasis on rhetoric. Rhetoric is, to make things very simple, rhetoric is how you say something. It's the building of the argument, so to speak, and the presentation of the argument. Well, I think that this book, The Clattering, Clanging Christmas, was to say, hey, you can have that consonance, it's called, when you, consonants, not we'll just stick with consonants. It's that same sound going over and over, clattering, clanging Christmas. And we got T's and C's, you know, ting, ting, tink, clink, clank, clunk, twang, bing, bang, bong. Those words. And then onomatopoeia. We've talked about this a couple days already, so I don't want to, but like whoosh, those kind of words. Thud. So there it is, $6.95, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, you do have to pay a little bit of shipping unless you buy some other things. I'm pretty sure this is the last copy, just because it's here on my desk. The Holy Temple in Jerusalem, $35 and a penny to get it in the free shipping range, if you want to do that. And then you could call it free shipping on your children's book as well. But there's only one of those. Only one. So, welcome. Sorry that there is all that buffering going on there. I think that, I don't know. I'm just going to double check this. And, okay, Worshify seems to be playing fine, and I've got a recording, so we're going to go with it. If it's a problem, I would encourage you to go over to Worshify. If not, then I will upload the recording. How's that sound? I do have a recording going, and so we'll make it just fine. Thank you for all of that, and again, sorry about all that. See what we can do. Okay, let's get into some biblical, theological, and worldview questions today. And we are, we are starting with Scott in Texas. And we go to Daniel chapter 12. In Daniel 12, Daniel is told to seal up the book until the time of the end. Since the book is no longer sealed, and in these times is actually studied, isn't this indicative of the time of the end being near? Okay, excellent question that we can check out, and Nathan is working, by the way, on that buffering issue, just to check, see if the problem is on our end. Let's make our way to Daniel, the 12th chapter, and take a little look at that. At that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children. There shall be a time of trouble. Many sleep and will be raised from the dead. They that are wise, talks about the resurrection. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Okay. Here's the words, Daniel chapter 12, verse 4. Seal the book even to the time of the end. Now, let's do a couple of things. Let's get over here and see, first of all, what the Hebrew translation of that particular issue is, just in case there's something there that we are not seeing in some form or fashion. And we will go to the Tanakh here. It may surprise you that Daniel is not in the prophets in the Tanakh. Daniel is in the scriptures or the writings. And then you would find Daniel, and of course we're going to go to chapter 12, and we're going to look there. We're going to go ahead and show Rashi, and we're going to go down to verse 4, which of course he has no commentary. But their issue here, Daniel, close up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Okay, basically exactly the same reading. Seal the book until the time of the end. Now, how can we interpret that, seal the book until the time of the end? I want to check here the... trying to see if I could copy that Hebrew. So let's see if we can find anything with the wording. I don't think so. I think the wording is going to be just exactly what the wording is. And I don't think there'll be anything in there that will give us... it's just because we're misunderstanding the word. Sometimes that happens, but I don't think that's happening here. So is it indicative that this is the time of the end? Looking at this Hebrew here, and no, it looks like... It looks to me like that is, it is what it is. So, seal up the book. Is there any way we could say this is not the book of Daniel? Possibly, but I think we'd have to talk hard and fast to say this is not the book of Daniel. Maybe there's this possibility here. People shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. So let's highlight that right there. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting, some to shame. They that be wise shall shine as in the brightness of the firmament. They may turn to righteousness, but thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book till the end. Many shall run to and fro, knowledge shall be increased. I don't know why Daniel would have access to this verse 1 book. Looks to me like the book that we would be talking about would be the book of Daniel. Okay, let's check out one more thing. If we are able here, we're going to look. Yeah, I do have it. I'm going to look back to my old notes on Daniel. It has been a number of years. Well, I said I was going to, and I don't seem to have... No, I've only got up to chapter 9. I'll have to find those old notes. Sorry about that. To see what I said then. So let's just take it at its plain value. Its face value. Seal up the words of the book. If our interpretation is that the book is the book of Daniel, that those would be sealed up until the time of the end. The time of the end of what? The end of the exile? At what point did the book of Daniel come into study? Let's see if Daniel is in the Dead Sea Scrolls. I believe it was. So if it was, and yeah, it was discovered in the Qumran caves of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So that is Second Temple period, probably, well, it's certainly before the destruction of Jerusalem, and maybe going back to, say, the 2nd century BC. It makes it very hard, Scott. I'm with you on this. It makes it very hard to say that this book was sealed up, because people were studying it in Qumran before the days of Jesus. So it's supposed to be sealed to the time of the end. So I think we've got two things to do here, and it would take a little more study to do them. But I think we could go two paths. One is we could say it's not the book of Daniel; it is the book of verse 1, which has something to do with the resurrection. Then we would have to explain, why does Daniel have this book? Why is he the one able to seal this up? Seems like he would not have authority over that book, so we would have to build that argumentation. The second pathway that we could go would be to take this to the time of the end here. Let's put that in green. To take to the time of the end and say this is not the end of time. This is the end of the exile, perhaps. Don't let this out until the end of the exile. Now, that I think when you look at that, then your problem would be, well, the context of Daniel chapter 12 is the end of time. So which one is it? You have a good question that I think I need a hopper for. This one demands further study. This is one we can't answer in just a few minutes, unfortunately. But those are the two paths I would see in my mind anyway for us to go. I hope that's helpful on that. If you or any of the rest of you discover some of the some great interpretations of that, let me know. Let's go to Edith in Missouri. Would Hebrews 11:6 be applicable to last week's question, number 5264? And we looked, let's see, I think that might have been Davy's question, if I remember right. But let's go to Ask the Theologian right over here. And let's make our way down to question 5264. And the question was, I don't think this was Davy's question. I think this was someone else. So if a Muslim, a Jew, and a Christian all pray for the same thing, I think this was Jay's question. What does God do with the prayer of the Muslim and the Jew? Does God even hear the prayer of the Muslim and Jew? Is there any difference between Muslim prayer and Jew prayer from God's perspective? Okay, now you could click on that just like that and get the answer here if you would like. And in fact, possibly later here, if you give that swirling thing a little bit, the full transcript would come up, or you can just listen right there. That's the way Ask the Theologian works. Now, let's get over here to Biblify and see if Hebrews 11:6 would add any light or be applicable. Without faith, it is impossible to please him. He that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those that diligently seek him. Now, it seems to me, this is in Hebrews chapter 11, but it seems to me that verse 6, excellent connection there, Edith, that verse 6 would be a transdispensational truth. In any dispensation, it is true that without faith it is impossible to please him. This was one of the issues of the Pharisees, for example, of going through the motions of the law they were clean on the outside but filthy on the inside. They were whitewashed tombs. There was really no faith in God that was there. There was faith in the law, not in God. Without faith, do whatever you want, is kind of what he says. And so it's almost like, he doesn't say this, but it's almost like what he says of charity in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. If I give my body to be burned but have not charity, it profits me nothing. So here you've got, if I give my body to be burned and have not faith, it profits me nothing. He that cometh to God must believe that he is. Now for the Jew, a Jew certainly believes that God is. A Jew has a very high view of God. A Muslim, you could argue, a Muslim does not believe in the same God as I think they've created their own God that looks mysteriously like our God, but Allah is not God. And I think that if you were to take that to a court of law, Allah is not God. Make the charge against him, Allah, you are God. The defense attorney who wants to say, no, I'm not guilty of that, would come along and give plenty of evidence to say, this is not God because God is all these things and Allah is those things. That's two different entities, two different beings. Could argue that. So he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he's a rewarder of those that diligently seek him. Now, the question is, would you take this to be an instruction or a statement of fact? I'd probably take it as a statement of fact. Nobody goes to God unless you believe he is going to be a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. So then, could you take a Jew, a Muslim, a Christian? Those are the three categories we had. We didn't have a pagan. And say, some of these believe that God exists and that he's a rewarder of those. I think the challenge to apply that would be, on a surface level, Christians, Jews, Muslims all believe that God exists and that he's a rewarder of those who seek him. Now, only Christians believe that God has an only begotten Son whose name is Jesus Christ. Does that make the Christian God a different God than the Jewish God? I don't think so, or the Muslim. I think you'd have to argue on something else there, because this is something about God that the Jews do not recognize or the Jews reject, but all other things about God would be exactly the same. Do Christian Jews and Muslims believe that God is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him? I suspect the answer would be yes. Though, could you argue that? Well, yeah, you could, but it's not going to get us anywhere. You could argue that it must be a different God because people are diligently seeking him in a different way. But that's true for Christians and Jews. Christians are seeking him through Jesus Christ. Jews are seeking him through the law. Allah is seeking him through slaughtering babies. And this is the way you come to glory. So it does shed some light into the study. What is this? Wednesday, the unanswerable question day? I think that, yeah, we would have to put some of these together to fully, more so answer that question. But I'm not sure that that one's going to fully answer the question either, because when pressed on the issue of Hebrews 11, it was 11:6, right? On Hebrews 11:6, we're going to be kind of stuck in this issue of, yeah, well, they all say that they believe that. Do they? That's what we would have to pursue. Thanks once again for that. Let's try Myra in Green Bay and see if her question's any easier. What can we get to today? Can we get to a question we can answer? This is what we want to know, ladies and gentlemen. Luke 1:18 and Luke 1:34. We're going to compare a couple of scriptures here. Luke 1:18, Zacharias said to the angel, "Whereby shall I know this? For I'm an old man and my wife well stricken in years." Now I suspect this, let's just check. Yeah, the son will be great in the sight of the Lord. Speaking of John the Baptist, many of the children of Israel shall be turned to the Lord, and he shall go in the spirit and power of Elias. Zacharias said, "Whereby shall I know this?" Now, let's go down that same chapter to verse 34. Mary said unto the angel, "How shall this be, seeing I know not a man?" Okay, Zacharias says, how am I going to know this? I'm an old man. I'm going to die soon. Mary says, how can I know this? I do not know a man. I've not had relations that would bring about a baby. So, Zacharias, to get back to Myra's question, Zacharias, whereby shall I know this? And he couldn't talk. That was the sign. And Mary's response, let me back up there. A little connection I don't want us to miss. I'm an old man. How am I going to know? I'm not going to live long enough to see this happen. How do I know? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 9 months of silence. That's how you'll know. By being mute for 9 months. Okay. Mary's response was, how shall I know this? And Myra goes on, didn't they both ask the same question? Why was the response so different? So Mary, how shall this be, saying I know not a man? The angel answered, the Holy Ghost shall come upon thee, the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. Therefore also the holy thing which shall be born in thee shall be called the Son of God. And behold, thy cousin Elizabeth, she is conceived. She's in her 6th month. I'm going to go ahead and separate this about Elizabeth. Maybe I shouldn't, because maybe that's part of the answer. You can go and see that nothing is impossible with God. Elizabeth has conceived in her old age. But I'm going to take the major difference here to be this issue right here. I'm an old man and my wife well stricken in years. Now, let's back that up again, say to verse 15. The testimony was that not only that they were going to have a son, but that he shall be great in the sight of the Lord, and that many of the children of Israel shall turn to the Lord their God. That's going to be 20 or 30 years in the future. Zechariah is, I don't know, let's call him 80. Zechariah is not going to live long enough. When you come, however, to Mary, how can this be? It's exactly the same question, and again, very good job at connecting those two. It's exactly the same question. How shall this be? She's going to know because she has a baby that eventually people call the Son of God. She's going to live to that point. Her promise was, you're going to have a baby who will be called the Son of God. And Simeon, even, I think, was probably the first to recognize this and to call. So she's able to live to that. Zechariah cannot live that long to see that promise. So he wanted some sort of sign that what's going to take place in the distant future that I won't be around to see, because I don't have a distant future, is the same. You could go a number of ways with that answer, with that question, but that's the direction I would go with it there. Thanks, Myra. I appreciate it. Davy in Northern Ireland, good to see you. How many years does Scripture tell us from Saul's conversion to when he changed his name to Paul? Okay, the hard truth is Scripture itself doesn't fully teach us that, but there's a couple of things we can look at. If I don't have my paper copy here, but I do have my online copy. If you were to look in a Scofield Reference Bible, I suppose my favorite thing about the Scofield Reference Bible is those little dates up in the middle column. Acts chapter 9, which is Saul's conversion, is at AD 35. Acts chapter 13, which is the first time we see Paul, the name Paul, is at AD 45. Now, those dates come from Bishop Ussher. One of these days, I'm going to do, like I've been doing these historical studies, one of these days I'm going to do a study on the people who really made an impact from a Christian point of view. They weren't monarchs and magistrates, but these were actual theologians. Ussher was one of these individuals. James Ussher, 1581 to 1656. He was an Irishman, Davy. And Ussher did this. I've got a copy back there. I think we have these available on at Dispensational Publishing. It's also public domain. He's not around to get the royalties anymore. Yes. We have a paperback version. It used to be a hardback version. Still expensive, but I have it a little bit on sale for you. $39.95. So James Ussher, right there. The Annals of the World. It really is an unbelievable, fascinating book. Okay, James Ussher goes back, and he's the one that did that dating, and people accept his dating. Now, is he right? He triangulated a few things. By that, I mean, he says, I know this date, I know this date. Therefore, I think that date has to fit here. He goes back, he's very specific sometimes. He has the actual date of creation. I think it's October 4th, 4004 BC. The uneducated mind looks at it and says, that guy is just absolutely crazy. The educated mind, if nothing else, says the book is this thick of the annals of the world. He has done his research. I haven't done my research. So before, throwing James Ussher under the bus, we ought to say, he's the guy that did his homework, not me. So Ussher says 10 years. I would say, yeah, if I were to put that, I would guess 10, 11, I might even go a few more. 12. Let's see. The date for, that's Acts 13, is that 45. Let's go to Acts 15, see what he puts that date at. It is 51. So would I go? Yeah, I'd say 51's probably pretty decent for that. Let's see. We've got the death of James. Okay, I'm okay with it. He has the conversion of Saul at 35, the death of James at 44, the changing of the name to Paul at 45, the Jerusalem Council at 51. All of that, I think even Usher would say, I gotta move back and forth a few years on this. So, give or take a year or two. But I think that's a pretty decent answer. Probably as good as we can come up with, would be my guess. Is there anything that Usher missed? Maybe we ought to read it and see. But I would say that's probably where we are. And by the way, let me just say that if you have decided that the last copy of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem is not what you want to give to the man who has everything, then the Annals of the World. Now, again, it's paperback, but it's still a nice looking book, and it's got some gold on the cover. That little gold leaf kind of stuff, kind of look, and they're why was Julius Caesar kidnapped in 75 BC? I bet you don't know. It's the annals of the world, not just biblical history, but around. I mean, there's a great gift for the man who has everything. Hurry before I decide to raise the price on it. Let's just out of curiosity, let's just check to see what they cost it. Amazon. Hate to say that there. Oh, looky there, ladies and gentlemen. You should buy this and resell it. $67.92. That's the cheapest. And look right there. $39.95. I tell you what, I'm giving you all through today to get those for $39. I've got 2 copies, $39.95. If you don't get it today, I'm going to sell them on Amazon tomorrow for $65. I'm just telling you, there it is. The price is going up tomorrow. I tell you what happens on this. They come and go into print, and when they're out of print, like it must be now, then the leftover copies, the price jumps up on them. And like Nancy says, I have the hardcover. It's out of print right now unless they've redone it. I have the hardcover too. I love the hardcover. I'd rather have the hardcover, but they put it out of print and the price got ridiculous. So that's what's up on there. Manny in San Antonio, followed by Kelly in Pennsylvania. Manny in San Antonio says, will you explain Colossians 1:15? Because I don't agree that Jesus is a created creature. Ah, good. Colossians 1:15. Okay. Speaking of Jesus, who is the image of the invisible God and the firstborn of every creature. Now, this would be, let's see if Bullinger helps us with the genitive there, the genitive of. He may or may not. I'm going to check this out because it's an issue of the genitive tense there. And lo and behold, the one time I need you, Dr. Bullinger, he doesn't have it. Let me see if I can find something to simply explain the genitive tense. The genitive case, I should call it, excuse me. Similar to the use of, the book of the teacher. We would call it the teacher's book in English. So creation's firstborn. The problem is there are, here's the list here. The possessive genitive, that's how I was using it there. And that's how you're thinking of it. The partitive genitive, some of the people. The descriptive genitive, a man of courage. He doesn't belong to courage, but he has courage. The relationship genitive, the son of David. The objective and subjective genitive, the love of God, can be subjective, God loves someone, or it can be objective, someone's love for God, the love of God. Is that God loving Manny, or is that Manny's got the love of God as he expresses it to others? It's a number of different ways. So this is a notoriously hard little case in Greek to carry out. Back to Colossians. I would take it, the firstborn, he is the primary. I think we could understand this as over every creature. He became, and this is probably, let's go into two senses. I agree that Jesus is not a created creature, but Jesus did take on the form of creation. And here it's probably speaking more of that because it begins, he is the image, the icon, the form of the invisible God. God became flesh and dwelt among us, and he in that sense became the firstborn of all creation. But the firstborn there really means the primacy, being the one with dominion over all of creation. The one taking the role of Adam in having that dominion, since Adam lost his role. So you're exactly right not to read it as Jesus is a created creature in terms of the second person of the Holy Trinity is not a created creature. But Jesus did take on flesh and become the second Adam, and in such, he is in the form of creation. You could touch him, you could pinch him, you could feed him, you know, he's a creature in that sense. But so far above, you would call him the firstborn. Once again, I hope that helps out in that. And again, I think some of that is not understanding the genitive on there. Deb went and did some research. Thank you, Deb. Randy's notes on Daniel 12:4. There are three possible interpretations, I said. One, some of what was told Daniel is not revealed in the pages of Daniel, and Daniel was prohibited from sharing it. I didn't share that option earlier, but that's a possibility that that which is sealed is not that which we have. Number two, some of the vision will not be completely understood until the end. So sealed up, not in terms of you can't have it and can't study it, but the knowledge of it is sealed up until the end. That is, that you and I are studying it, but we may not have a clue what we're studying. Number three, the vision was complete and thus could not be added to. It's sealed in the sense that you can't put anything more into it. Okay, there's the 3 interpretations I gave back in, I think that was 2017 or so. Thanks. Oh, good. Randy says he got the temple book yesterday, a gift for our preacher for Christmas. That preacher is blessed. He's going to get a nice book. And on Christmas Day, well, I don't know if he'll open it on Christmas. He might do it before. But if he opens it on Christmas, all the rest of his family is going to be disappointed because all day he's going to be sitting there looking at pictures. And he's going to say, hey, come over. Look at this. Look right here. Here's the gate of the water. Here's the, whoa, I didn't know. It's going to be his favorite Christmas gift. Kelly in Pennsylvania. How should Christians respond to the use of, to the, I think it's supposed to be to the use of. It says to the use og. I don't think og stands for anything, does it? I think it's the use of. The use of general AI to create superhumans to reach singularity. Let's first of all get a definition of singularity. So that we answer the question correctly. A hypothetical future point known as technological singularity, theoretical movement in which technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible, resulting in unforeseeable changes to human civilization. The most common association with singularity is the development of artificial intelligence that surpasses human intelligence. This AI could potentially improve itself recursively or create even more intelligent entities, leading to an exponential growth in intelligence that is beyond human comprehension, which is kind of interesting that we brought up Daniel chapter 12, verse 2, knowledge shall increase. It gets into transhumanism. It raises profound questions about the nature of humanity, society, ethics, future. It's a theoretical debate that takes place on there. Now, how should Christians respond to the use of general AI to create superhumans to reach singularity? One, I think we should, like we do on everything, we should question the assumptions. Is it good? It was a typo. I thought it was a typo. Is it even possible for AI to create superhumans, or will humanity always have dominion over AI? Now, here's the issue. Could AI develop itself? Let's say you put AI in a loop. And AI, you say, I want you to, figure out what 2 plus 2 is. And it says 2 plus 2 is 4. Took it a while. Let's say it first of all said 2 plus 2 is 5. And then it looped around and said, rethink this. Oh, 2 plus 2, no, that's 6. Looped around, rethought, no, 2 plus 2 is 4. And then somehow, if you could add, once you have verified this, let's say once you have verified it 10,000 times, we're making it up. You verified it 10,000 times. And by the way, that could take 5 minutes. You verified it 10,000 times. So now I want you to add 1. 2 plus 3 is. I want you to work on it till you get it. I want you to go around. I want you to verify I've got the right answer. Yes, absolutely. I have recalculated this. 2 plus 3 is 5. And then let's suppose that there is some kind of an input that adds. Once something has been utterly verified 10,000 times, then I want you to add this new unit. And eventually that goes beyond math. It goes to history, it goes to science, it goes to electrons, neutrons, the things in atoms. It goes to astronomy, it goes to geometry, it goes to music, it goes to linguistics, all these kind of things. It looks at them, it verifies them 10,000 times, and then it adds just one little piece, and it adds more, and it adds more, and it adds more. And eventually, this comes to a point of far surpassing any human knowledge. Now, to question the assumption, can it come to surpass human knowledge? It can surpass human capability. No doubt, because we can't verify, re-verify, check the facts, bring everything in, and do it at that kind of speed. But that kind of ability, the truth is we can't do math like a calculator. Like, remember the old desktop calculator, mechanical desktop calculator that you used to have in the 70s? It was like this big, it'd add 49 plus 62 with a big old crank. And you got the answer? That surpassed human ability to add, multiply, subtract, and divide. And then we just keep adding to that. But that particular, the adding machine had no knowledge, it had capabilities. So are we able to take the desktop adding machine and eventually keep going to where it is beyond capabilities, now it is knowledge? Does the old issue of garbage in, garbage out still apply? There are smarter people than me out here on this, and I think somebody might say, yeah, no, it doesn't apply anymore. Now it spits out the garbage and comes. Can you ever create this superhuman? I think you can create super warriors that are not human, but they have the ability, let's just make up some things. Let's say the government decides bald-headed radicals need to be removed from the earth. Easy for some human to say, find the bald-headed radicals and remove them from the earth. Finding them, no problem, because you and I are on cameras every day. Who's this guy that, keeps coming in the convenience store? We see him there. We got 200 pictures of him. They can figure out who that guy is. Facial recognition, all that. Better than humans. Because it can tell, the slightest degree of facial change. It's, many of us, anyway, you look at your phone and it recognizes you. Because it has 3 cameras and it sends out a little depth and it says, yep, that's the length of his nose. Sure enough, that's him. His eyes are that far apart, or that close together, or whatever. That's it's doing measurement. It's not really looking and comparing. Yeah, that's his skin color. That's his. Doesn't do any of that. So that's superhuman. I can't look and measure and say, no, his nose is a little big. That's not him. So you can create that kind of superhuman capability. And then say, okay, not only is he here, but he's there and he's here, and here's where we see him, and we know he drives a black Jeep, and we know that, and so you create the system which blocks the road when the black Jeep comes, takes them out. We're almost to that point of that capability. You talk about warfare. I mean, you got those boys now in Gaza going through in the IDF. The day's probably coming where they're not going to be needed. I don't so much worry about a draft anymore for our young people because they'll be using humanoids, just like Star Wars. But at some point, it seems that the machine, even though there is machine learning and it gets better, it seems like that comes to an end. Maybe I'm wrong there. Seems like there's always an inherent flaw that the machinery cannot continue itself at a certain point, and humanity can. But that said, I think Christians, I'll shock some of the world. Some of you already know I have this opinion. I think Christians should adopt technological advancement rather than shun it. Because we don't want to because we want to have an influence on society. We want to be able to move it along. I believe, for example, there is a linguistic pattern of the Psalms that would take me the rest of my life to analyze and bring out. But I'm getting close to the place of learning how to tell AI, here's the pattern I want you to look for. Not quite there yet, it's not ready to go prime time, but where you can say, Psalm 76, and it will find that pattern in there because it's so good at linguistics. But let me also say, it's been with us for a long time. I mean, it just came out, a year ago, but AI has been with us for a long time. Many of you on your phones, when you start texting something, it suggests the next word. That's AI. It's a pattern recognition. And that's machine learning. Like, hey, Kelly, usually when she says good right at the beginning, she's either going to say morning, afternoon, or evening, or night. And she tends to say good morning about 8 a.m. And so I'm going to suggest morning. That the machine learned that. Now, Kelly adds to it. Narrow AI isn't dangerous to me, and we're probably talking narrow AI and most of that, your text and the linguistic abilities there. It's general AI that does, not because it's life, but because it can eliminate work and the ability to make a living, hence a disaster. Well, I wonder, though, if it can. That's where I want to question the assumptions. It can eliminate work. I'm not sure that it eliminates work. I think it changes work. Some work it might eliminate. I remember when I was in high school. Later high school. I think I was a junior in high school because this was I took a trip down to the New Mexico State University. They had this thing for future business leaders of America. I was one of them, the FBLA. We went down there and they took us on a tour of a factory. And in the factory, do you remember Remember the old pantyhose that came in an egg? I think they were called eggs. Remember those? The factory was here in New Mexico. And I remember going through that factory, seeing the ladies there, taking by hand, there's a whole row of them, taking by hand, grabbing the pantyhose, sticking them in the egg, closing the egg, sending it on. Grab, stick, send, grab, stick, send, grab, stick, send. That was their job all day. And I remember thinking, oh my, I want a better job than sticking pantyhose in eggs all day. My guess is, I don't even know if those things exist. I don't know if pantyhose exist, do they? But my guess is that's done by a machine today. So no, it eliminated those jobs. But there's different jobs now. So I wonder if it really eliminates work or if it just changes work. Changes the focus of what you do. And I think that to some degree, though it's changing faster now, to some degree that's always been kind of the thing, you know. You don't nobody makes buggy whips anymore. But now they make something else. You change, you do this differently, you adapt, you know, all those kind of things. So can it eliminate work and the ability to make a living? I think you could look at that in a different way, that actually it changes work, maybe improves work, and maybe improves the living that you're able to make. If we were to, I don't know, let's say coal mining. If we were able to send machines into the coal mine to gather coal, we've got about 150 years of it down there, and we got good, clean ways to burn it. We just will get it out and use it. That would be better for people's health. A lot of people would lose their jobs. Well, they already have. Would lose their jobs, but in the end, it would make a more prosperous society. And those jobs would go somewhere else. Maybe they would become ethicists or go into philosophy. The issue, and Kelly says, we have an issue with education. Yeah, I think education already has, but it's maybe on the cusp of even more, already has had a fundamental change. One of the reasons I think colleges are sinking like a ship, like the Titanic, is because now you can learn whatever you want on the internet. Especially, YouTube. I put some chains on my snowplow yesterday. I never had chains on it before because I had good tires, but now I've worn the tires down. They're not good anymore. And I looked at the price of tires and I said, I'm buying chains. So I bought some chains. I put them on. I live in snow country, as you know, and yet I just use good tires and four-wheel drive. I don't have chains. So I YouTubed it. How do you put these chains on? Doesn't come with instruction. I YouTubed it. Well, the first one I did by myself, and then I'm like, I don't think this looks right. So then I YouTubed it. But you learn everything. I'm almost convinced, other than the practicum, you could learn brain surgery. Probably come to the point of excelling the actual brain surgeon in head knowledge. But somewhere out there, you do have to get that practical experience out there, and that's what the internet will never be able to help with. So unskilled labor, you're right. A lot of that is going to go away. But then I wonder, and I had a conversation with a parent about this today from the John Nelson Darby Academy. I don't know, a parent, a child with some learning disabilities, legitimate learning disabilities. I said, I wonder if, said this is an experiment, I wonder if it's better to teach that child how to find the answer rather than trying to get that child to memorize the answer. Because there's an issue there that it is not working. We want this child to be productive. So does it help to say, forget learning your times tables. Learn how to use a calculator very quickly. Can we come to that point where some of that knowledge up here is not as much needed if we're able to open up the World Book Encyclopedia and read it? So many ethical issues. And then you do, as Kelly mentions, get into the bioethics of it all. I'm not for artificial wombs, all that kind of stuff, the bioethics part of it. Into changing the DNA. There's a lot of that now because they are going to learn how to doctor your DNA to bring that. You know, it's not totally doctoring DNA, but I'm out of time here and should quit. I get advertisements every time I go on social media on how you can grow your hair back, which means they're looking at my pictures. Sometimes I'll even comment on them. And my comment is usually like, I wouldn't have hair if I could snap my fingers and it would all grow in. What a hassle that would be. I'd have to waste my good, precious time taking care of it. I don't want that stuff. But they're going to be able to change your DNA where nobody goes bald, where nobody you don't get fat, you don't, whatever. Everybody would be perfect, superhuman. You do have a bioethical issue there that ought to be looked at. So, to boil all that down, we finish where we started today. I don't know. I don't know. There is a lot of issues that some people really do, who are very critical thinkers, need to get at the forefront here and say, what do we do with this? What's ethical, what's not ethical? What needs to be displayed, what doesn't need to be displayed? What needs to be footnoted, what doesn't need to be footnoted? What do you bring about? How do you do this? So much today there's a need for ethicists more than ever. The problem is the field of ethicists, the field of ethics, is pretty sick itself. It's not good thinkers there. But you know, I used to be very afraid of self-driving cars. Now I wonder if self-driving cars wouldn't be better than human-driven cars. And the reason I'm not so afraid of them anymore is because, you know, Shelley's car has this like cruise control, you know, that keeps you a certain distance from the car in front of you. And I realize every now and then, it works pretty good. So many different issues on that. They now even, it pretty much keeps you in the lane and does a pretty good job. But is it better? Is that better than a human in all cases? No, it's not there yet, which is why it's not even legal yet. But the day is coming when we're not going to drive anymore. When the airline pilot, there's already, I suppose, as many or more drones in military than there are humans. So it's definitely, that's all going to change. And there is going to be an information explosion, already is, that we have to look at and we have to deal. I tell you, I ask AI a lot of questions these days, especially related to history and some of those things. Hey, tell me about. You still have to verify it because it's not that good yet. kellykeller.substack.com. She, by the way, a technology IP lawyer and seminary student in Christian apologetics. Writing an article on the subject right now. I do write about worldview issues on Substack. That's kellykeller.substack.com. Those of you who want to dig into that and look a little more on that. Okay. I appreciate that. My alarm is going off telling me what I'm supposed to do at 11:15. It's probably like you're supposed to be done with your program 15 minutes ago. That's what everybody else is saying. Thanks for being with us. Once again, we do have some weather issues. So tonight's broadcast is planned to happen 6 p.m. Mountain Time, but weather issues could affect that some. We'll see. But I hope to see you tonight. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for being here with us today. I'll be back tomorrow as well in Ask the Theologian. Let me say, it's supposed to snow big overnight, so the plan is to be back tomorrow. And I hope to see you. Thanks, everybody. God bless. I appreciate it, and we shall see you soon.